Thank you very much, Ólafur Gregson. And now to the very final topic on the agenda, and that is panel discussion. And that means that you people are all having the opportunity to come forward with questions or express opinion on what has been presented here at the end of the day. So, who's going to start? You all tired now? I had a question for Kate Sanderson. We've been discussing now this climate change and how climate change possibly has affected or will affect fishing stocks in the area here around in our part of the world. What was actually the conclusion on that? Has there been seen concrete effects of climate change that has been traced?
Well, I'd really prefer to throw that question back to some of the presenters we had this morning. I think, well, one of the clear examples from the last decades was the example of the disappearance of the cod, which has been related to changes in sea temperature, as well, of course, as to overfishing. And the effects of that have been, we've seen the development of a shrimp stock that has filled in a niche that the cod had, and that niche has been exploited, and the industry has adapted to that. That's one fairly simple example, but in terms of prognosis for the future, there seems to be an indication of a northerly migration in terms of warmer temperatures, species moving further north. But I think for further detail, I would refer to some of the speakers we had this morning who may be able to offer some more specific answers to that. But I think generally increases in sea temperature, radical increases in terms of how we know the North Atlantic to function now would certainly increase the levels of uncertainty on how the dynamics of the system will react. We've had a relatively stable situation. This is my understanding as a non-biologist. But radical changes and radical increases in sea temperature would obviously create the kind of uncertainty that requires greater precaution. But these questions we didn't really fully discuss in the discussion. I think there's a lot of scope for looking at them perhaps a bit more if people are interested in doing that.
Thank you. Further questions?
I did not have the possibility to follow the tacit workshop, and maybe it was raised as an issue, but I did not see it now during the summing up. Would it be an idea to make connection with the International Polar Year? Because such an initiative as a Transatlantic Climate Institute could be very much linked to all the activities in the International Polar Year and all those projects which are taking place all over the Arctic in order to understand the climate better. And it could be sort of, if it was presented in a good way, it could be supported by the international community connected to the International Polar Year. So I just put it as an issue that could be considered by those suggesting this tacit. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for the remark. Definitely, I think it's. I think the main issue now for the Faroes is to clarify whether there's a commitment in the Faroe Islands to continue this initiative. If there is such a commitment, the next step, and that would be, as a part of defining the scientific contact, the organizational structure would be to take contact with those international, or should I say transatlantic partners that will be a part of the Tacit network. Because the whole foundation, or the whole idea of Tacit is that it's not a local phenomena, it is an international phenomenon, and the view is international. It's not only Faroese. It has to be, there has to be people from, first and foremost, the North Atlantic area, but also what we call or define as the transatlantic area. We need to have representatives as soon as possible in the process of defining and describing Tacit. And one way of doing that would be to have an advisory board related to the process of when we are defining this institute. An advisory board that consists of people representing these various interests and stakeholders.